And are all the issues that you deal with, or all the cases that you deal with, resolved?
No, and some of them, maybe some people may say it's extreme case, but a lot of them, a lot of women I see, they have a relationship with a Caucasian Canadian man, and result of the relationship, they have children, biracial children, and a lot of them don't have any, women don't have a status any longer. They're not just, they don't even have a working holiday status. They're here extending visitors visa every 6 months, and their partners are there not sponsoring them. And so when abuse happens and they're fleeing the relationship, these women has no protection as a landed immigrant. They're not. They don't have a right to go to social services, social assistance, no social housing, not sometimes not even the Canada child tax benefit. So they're in a very financially very vulnerable position. Only place they can go to is a transition house for 30 days.
Okay, and as I mentioned in the documentary, there's in Vancouver, Tonari Gumi and the Vancouver and Lower Mainland Multicultural Family Support Services deals with Japanese students. Is there any other support or services available for them in Vancouver?
There are lots of nonprofit organizations supporting victims of crime or even the homestay, human rights issues, employment standard issues, but the language is the problem. And however, Victim Link, they have 24/7 language services. So if they can get hold of that line to call and say, I need somebody, I'm a victim of crime or I'm a victim of something, and then need to speak Japanese, they usually connect you with a Japanese interpreter.
Okay. Now at Tsuko, you've been studying about the working holiday makers or students for the last 7 years. Can you tell us a little bit about what your research is?
Oh, yes. So far, I have interviewed from 70 to 80 sojourners here in Vancouver, and I realized that the 70 or 80% of my interviewees are women, and that's very noticeable. And the biggest group of my interviewees are probably working holiday makers and also students. And the age is the biggest age group is in their late 20s and also early 30s, which is a bit different from our usual image of international students, which should be younger. But in reality, they are slightly older than our imagination. And women in their late 20s, and means in Japan, it means that they have worked for several years after graduating college or universities, but they are not satisfied with their career. They hit the glass ceiling, and they need a drastic change of life. And also, many of them just want to study English here in Canada and go back home to get a better job. But also, many of them want to stay here as long as possible, or possibly permanently, and to have a new life. So they are the easy victims of the bad people here, I'm afraid. And the reason why not as many young Japanese men do not come here is that in Japan, there's a social norm among men that being in the mainstream of Japanese society is manly. They must stay there, going to big companies. And but for women, there are many career limitations, especially when the Japanese economy was not good, which was between 1994 and 2005. many newly grad Japanese women have part-time jobs and things. That's why they are not satisfied with their job and coming here.
Okay, and what sort of conclusions did you come up with after doing the research?
Actually, my research is still ongoing,
okay. Right.
so I haven't reached any conclusions.
Okay.
But definitely there are, to solve this social problem that Hiroko talked about and you talked about, we need many different point of views. One is that psychological or psychiatric cross-cultural counseling point of view. Another is more like work condition, changing work condition. And so I'm now struggling to combine many human powers of Japanese Canadian community here to help those sojourners.
Okay. And in your opinion, Hiroko, how can these students get the information and education they need in order to know their rights and prevent this from happening in the future?
Prior to come to Canada, I think Canadian Embassy in Japan should give more safety information. And I know they conduct working holiday workshops and seminars to these people, but I think it's not enough. And part of the reason is a drawback is that because it's a business, and a lot of people in Canada are depending on this business, so they don't want Canada to be seen as a dangerous place. So they can't really put too much fear to these students, but at the same time, I think it's important to have a safety plan before they come to Canada. And also, they should know in case if they get involved with problems, where to ask for help, and also I feel it's very important is that they have better communication with their parents back home. Because a lot of students, they do, unfortunately, they get into problems, but the one who has a strong support back home usually resolved in a very positive way, and the one who has no help whatsoever from the family is the one who suffered the most.
Okay. And now the number of working holiday visas available for Japanese students has increased to 9,500 from 5,000. I believe it was this year that happened. Do either of you think that this is going to have an effect on the number of cases that you see? Etsuko?
Yeah, I would say so. And Hiroko has the same opinion with me, but because of the job positions here in Vancouver is limited, so many might not get jobs here, and so they may move to Rocky Mountains areas and many other rural areas where they have less access to the help, especially Japanese-speaking specialists, and I'm afraid of that. Another thing is that, as I told, because women, we have more women sojourners than men sojourners from Japan, many of them who couldn't get the job are likely to try to get Canadian boyfriends or partners to get help or to get partnership. Then there's a higher risk for them to be involved in abusive relationship. That's what I'm afraid of.
Okay. How about you, Hiroko? Anything else to add about that?
No, I agree with Etsuko.
Okay. And any final pieces of advice for students or members of the community who might be listening tonight?
Well, too many.
Too many.
Well, yes, and well, I'd like to say to the sojourners that if you find something strange or fearful or unnatural or anything, please talk to somebody nearby, and hopefully the Japanese immigrants here not your friends, just friends, but the doctors or social workers or Tonarigumi staff or consulate general, all these people, and make your voice as official as possible. And I'd like to say to the Japanese Canadian immigrants here to be attentive to those sojourners as possible.
Yeah, it's very true. Your instinct is the most important thing that you can rely on. And often I hear from the aftermath of this problem, the bad people, they often say, this is Canada, it's not Japan, we have a different customs and this and that. But when your gut feeling says it's not right, usually you're right. So as Etsuko suggested, just talk to somebody and ask for help, and there's always some way to resolve it.
Okay, great. Well, thank to both of you for coming in this evening.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And that was Hiroko from the Lower Mainland Multicultural Family Support Services Society, and Etsuko Kato, an anthropology professor from the International Christian University in Tokyo. And for our listeners who may be in need of services, please contact 604-436-1025, or you can email against violence at vlmfss.ca. And for any comments on this portion of the show, you can contact The Rational, that's the-rational at coopradio.org.